One, we're chanting from chapter 1, Observing the Armies, text 25.
Yes.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Starting from text 25. Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham Chanam Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitam Samavetan Kuruniti.
In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, "Just behold, Parth, all the Kurus assembled here."
Tatra Pashyat Sthitan Parthaha Pitrunata Pitamahan Acharyan Matulan Bhratran Putran Pautran Sakhins Tatha Svashuran Suhridaschaiva Senayorubhayorapi.
There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers.
Tan Samikshya Sakaunteya Sarvan Bandhun Avasthitan Kripaya Paraya Vishto Vishidannidam Apravid.
When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke this.
Arjuna Uvacha Drishtve Svajanam Krishna Yuyutsum Samupasthitam Sidanti Mama Gatrani Mukham Cha Parishushyati.
Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up."
Vepatuscha Sharire Me Romaharshasya Jayate Gandivam Sramsate Hasta Tvakchaiva Paridhyate.
My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning.
Nacha Shaknomi Avastatum Brahmapmativa cha me manaha Nimittani cha pashyami Viparitani Keshava.
I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Kesi demon.
Nacha Shreyonu pashyami Hatva Svajanam Mahave Nakangshe Vijaya Krishna Nacha Rajyam Sukhani cha.
I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
Kim no Rajena Govinda Kim Bhogai Jivitena va Yeshamarte Kangshitam no Rajyam Bhoga Sukhani cha. Taimeva sthita yuddhe pranam tyaktva dhanani cha acharya pitraha putras तथैव च पितामहाः मातुला स्वशुरा पौत्राः शालासम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि ज्ञतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतो किं नु मही कृते निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्न का प्रीति स्यात् जनार्दन.
O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in law, grandsons, brothers in law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुम् धार्तराष्ट्रान् सबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः श्याम माधव.
Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsman?
यद्यपि एतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापादस्मान् निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन.
O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion.
अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसङ्करः.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny.
सङ्करो नरकायैव कुलघ्नानां कुलस्य च पतन्ति पितरो हि येषां लुप्तपिण्डोदकक्रियाः.
An increase of unwanted pollution certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
दोषैरेतैकुलज्ञानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः.
By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा.
O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
अहो बत महत्पापं कर्तुं व्यवस्थिता वयं यद्राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsman.
यदि माम प्रतिकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्ररणे हन्युस्तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्.
Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
संजय उवाच एवं मुक्त्वार्जुन संख्ये रतोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः.
Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna was wonderful. Thank you so much. Jyoti Mataji nicely recited the English. And Shampriya Mataji, of course, as always, we look forward to your recitations. So melodious and perfect pronunciations. Thank you so much. Very bon. So, devotees, welcome once again to all of you. I'm just going to quickly share my PowerPoint and we can take it from there. Okay, so we are continuing reading this wonderful first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And the chapter so far, let's do the summary. So first, text 11, preparations for the war. 12 to 20, signs of victory of our Pandavas. Krishna speaks of all the, well, actually, it's Sanjay speaking of all the ominous signs. Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala, there's 21 to 27. Then the current section, 28 to 46, we are speaking about, Krishna speaking about Arjuna's fight. Krishna was speaking, sorry, in this chapter. Whenever we think about Gita, we talk about Krishna speaking, but here Sanjay is continuing, and he's speaking about Arjuna's 5 arguments not to fight. So we will go on to today's verse, 131. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text 31. Nacha shreyo nupashyami patvasva janam ahave na kankshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. We will go on to the purport and then come back to the verse to discuss some main points from the verse. So I divided the purport into two, and I can just see if I can call on somebody. Okay, so I've got first people I see on here is Andrew and Bhavini. So Bhavini Mataji, if you're there, if you can unmute and read the first paragraph. Okay, Andrew Prabhu or Bhavini Mataji not there. Okay, in that case, we'll move on to Anita Mataji. We've got Anita S. Anita Mataji, are you able to unmute yourself and read the first paragraph? Okay, people seem very shy today. Okay, I'm going to go move down the list now to see if I can. Okay, I'm sure Joli Mataji won't mind. Joli Mataji, would you read the first paragraph, please? Joli Mataji, are you there? Normally they say third time lucky. Well, we haven't got third time lucky this time. Okay, we've got let's try Chandra. Okay, sorry, who is that? Okay.
Lena.
Okay, Lena. Okay, yeah, you can read. Thank you. Read the first paragraph, please. And I'll tell you what we'll do.
Third time lucky, Prabhuji, I'm here.
Yeah, fine. Okay, in that case, what we'll do, Joli Mataji, you can take the first paragraph, and Lena Mataji, if you don't mind, take the second one. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that all right, Lena Mataji?
No problem.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya, who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life, who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. He thinks, shall I start?
Yes, please.
He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. Just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook, he has now decided to go into the forest and live in a casual life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence because the Kshatriya cannot engage themselves in other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a scheduled life for frustration.
Thank you so much, Lena Mataji. Thank you so much, Joli Mataji. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. All assembled devotees Ki Jai. Thank you so much. So yes, so like I said, we'll just go back to the verse and just pick up a few points from there, if we can. Right. So Nacha Shreyo Nupashyami. Shreya. So our first word, important word here in this verse is Shreya. Shreya, or sometimes they say Shreyas. So this is, Prabhupada explains many places. There are two things, Shreya and Preya. So Shreyas and Preyas. So Shreyas means something, Shreyas means something you do now for the long-term good. That's Shreyas. And Preyas is the opposite. Something you do now for immediate enjoyment, but it's not good for us long-term. So all activities we do, they are like that, Shreyas and Preyas. If I feel really greedy and I want to eat 10 gulab jamuns, I can eat them now because that'll be Preyas. That'll give me a lot of joy right now. But then the problem is that later on, it'll give me a problem in terms of my cholesterol, in terms of general health, whatever. So like that. But the example of Shreyas is that we wake up in the morning, that's painful. You know, we would love to sleep in, especially in the winters, very cold, we don't want to get out of bed, but we still force ourselves out of bed. That's Shreyas, because then we get time in the nice early mornings of the day, early morning time, when it's very conducive and everything is in the mode of goodness for us to practice our sadhana. Other example of Shreyas is even students. You know, they work hard, they give up their playtime to study, and that is for the future good. So this concept is very important to remember. So when we decide to do any activity, we must ask ourselves, is this Shreyas or Preyas? And try and focus more on Preyas activities. So this concept is explained in a slightly different way in the 18th chapter, text 37 and 38, where it is talking about happiness in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And it's explained that happiness in the mode of goodness is something which is like poison initially, but later it is like nectar. That's happiness and goodness. And then happiness in passion is the other way around. It is something which is like nectar now, but later on it will be like poison. Tat agre visham pariname amritopanam. So agre means first. Agre, visha. First is poisonous. But pariname at the end is amritopanam, which means that's goodness. And then the other way around, agre amritopanam, but pariname visham eva. So right now is amrita, like mete, but pariname, it is like visha, like poison. The other term here that I noticed that's interesting is swajanam. So this verse, I think a couple of verses, maybe 28 or 29, he also, Arjun uses this word swajanam. Swajanam means my kinsman, is translated here, my family. So you can see straight away here, whose family, whose kingdom, whose kinsman rather. So this shows that Arjun at the moment is acting completely in the bodily platform, because when he says, oh, my relations, my grandfather, my fathers, my brothers, my teachers. So everything is my, me, my. So here we can see that to teach us a lesson, really. Arjuna is a Nitya Siddha devotee, but Krishna has put him into Yoga Maya, so we can learn lessons. So he's now in this very bodily conception. So it's this kind of sentiments. You can imagine this sentiments that Arjuna is actually putting forward, these arguments. So many different arguments, 5 main reasons why he doesn't want to fight. Actually, when you think about it from the material concept or the bodily concept, these are quite good sentiments, you would think, right? Because you don't want to fight. You would rather, become humble, and you be tolerant. So these are the things that we're supposed to develop. These are the values. These are the qualities we're supposed to develop. So yes. So on one hand, this is nice. It's nice, righteous things to do. But at the same time, when it's a question of dharma, when it's a question of fighting against adharma, then those things should be put aside, as Krishna will, of course, will explain and convince Arjuna at the end. So yeah, this I thought we could, this is what I picked up for the verse so far. We can now move on. So in the purport, Prabhupada is saying, without knowing that one's self-interest is Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. So this reminded me of this beautiful verse in the 7th canto. Prahlad Maharaj is speaking this verse to his father, actually. And anybody know this verse? I have used it in these sessions quite a few times. I think I like this verse. Anybody know this verse, 7.531? Any Bhakti Vaibhav students here? This would have been one of our memory verses, perhaps. Nobody there? Okay, fine. We'll just move on. Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnu, durashayaya bahir artha manina, anda yatha ander upaniyamanas, tepisha tantriam urudamni baddha. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is explaining to his father that persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life, and he's of course pointedly speaking about his father, and who have therefore accepted their leader or guru as a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. The blind man, guided by another blind man, miss the right path and fall into a ditch. Materially attached man, led by another materially attached man, are bound by the ropes of food to labor, which are made of very strong cords. And they continue again and again in the material life, suffering the threefold miseries. So here, in this case, relating this to Arjuna, Arjuna is not accepting any other guru or any other leader, as we know, of course. But he's accepting, at this stage, he's accepting his mind as his guide. And this is the danger. When we allow our mind to make decisions, we're going to go wrong. We need to use our intelligence to control the mind and guide our decisions to what Guru, Sadhava, and Shastra are mentioning. So, and then Prabhupada actually mentions that they forget their own, what does it say? They forget their reason of their, what is this actually? One second, let me go back and Prabhupada mentions something interesting, which he says, they forget even the cause of their material happiness. So, we know, certainly basic things we know is that, yes, you could do good karma and you get good results. So if we know that if we're happy for a little while, that is because we have done something good previously. But you see, people who are blinded by desires for sense enjoyment, they even neglect good karma. They just forget about all that. So they are blind like that. So quickly, we just go through a part of the purport of this section, this particular verse. Prabhupada is saying in the purport, generally speaking, practically everyone is unaware of the spiritual world. The knowledge of the materialists is restricted within the 4 billion mile limit of this material world, which is in the dark portion of the creation. They do not know that beyond the material world is a spiritual world. Unless one is a devotee of the Lord, one cannot understand the existence of the spiritual world. Gurus, teachers who are simply interested in this material world are described in this verse as andha, blind. Such blind men may lead many other blind followers without true knowledge of material conditions, but they are not accepted by devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Such blind teachers, being interested in external material world, are always bound by the strong ropes of material nature. So, very simple message here. And Arjun, of course, throughout the Gita, he will hear this, and then he will know that his self-interest is not in what he's trying to do, what following his mind. His self-interest is in pleasing Krishna. So this is explained in another famous verse, which I have used many times, 1-13, says, Ata Pumbe Dija Shrestha Varanashrama Bhagasha Swanuthithasya Dharmasya Samsiddhi Haritoshanam. Oh, best among twice born. And this is Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages at Naimisharanya. Oh, best of the twice born. It is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjun's duty as a Kshatriya was to please the Lord, not to follow his own mind and the concoctions. Just a brief part of the purport. Prabhupada says human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are the intelligent class, the martial class, the productive class, and the labor class. These castes are classified in terms of one's own work and qualifications, and not by birth. Very important, not by birth. Then again, there are 4 orders of life, namely the student life, the householder's life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life. Otherwise, no social institution can grow in a healthy state. And in each and every one of the above mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Moving on the purport, Prabhupada says, Arjun appears to have even forgotten the moral codes of a Kshatriya. So, again, we can look at the verse which talks about Arjun had no kingdom. Arjun, as a Kshatriya, he had forgotten what the duties of the Kshatriyas are because of his sentiment. And in 1843, we just recently did the 18th chapter, as we all know, that the duties of a Kshatriya are mentioned here, right? So, Shoryam tejo dhriti daksham yude chapya palayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma swabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. See, his duty as a Kshatriya was to be determined, to show heroism, to be resourceful, show courage. Here you can see in this particular verse and a series of verses that are following, he is not showing any of these qualities. So this is why Prabhupada is saying that he seems to have forgotten the moral codes for Kshatriya. In the purport, then Prabhupada also says that Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because a Kshatriya cannot engage themselves because Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. So a Kshatriya cannot beg. It's not in his nature. He cannot go and do some farming. That's not in his nature. Kshatriya cannot even go and meditate. He won't be able to do it for long because that's not his nature. His own nature will take over, and he'll fall down in those different endeavors. So he needs to have a kingdom to rule. And as we know that during the time when so many different personalities went to the Kauravas to try and stop this war, Krishna himself went finally. And his final proposal was that because these are Kshatriyas, they can't just have nothing. Give them at least one village each, and they can at least then, rule the villages and maintain themselves. But of course, as we know, Duryodhana wasn't willing to give a land that would fit at the tip of a needle, so that he didn't get this. So yes, he's forgotten his moral Kshatriya codes. Prabhupada then says, it is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriyas who die directly in front of the battle under Krishna's personal orders, and the persons in the renounced order of life, and a person in a renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture. These two kind of people are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. So now, when you think about this, if somebody says, "Okay, what is your desire after this birth, after this, when you win this life?" The sun globe probably is the last thing that comes to mind, because in our mind, we think the sun is such an inhospitable place, so hot. But of course, it is a heavenly planet. It is one of the most powerful heavenly planets. And yes, there are living entities living there, and who have bodies which are, our bodies are mainly water, but their bodies are mainly fire. So they are able to live there. Prabhupada explains many times before. And of course, it's possible. So this particular aspect that they go to the sun, they're eligible to enter the sun globe. Prabhupada mentions it in the purport without the verse, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary, he actually mentions this verse, which comes from Parasa Smriti, and he says, "Dvavirmo purusha loke suryo manna labhedino parivrad yoga yuktascha ranecha bhimukhe hata." The sannyasi, that is the translation of the verse, which is similar to what Prabhupada just said. The sannyasi engaged in yoga and warrior who dies facing the enemy attain the sun planet. So this is just a source of where that information comes from. Moving on, Arjuna, Prabhupada is saying, Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. So again, looking at the commentary from one second, I took it up from Baldev Vidyabhushan, sorry, Baldev Vidyabhushan. His commentary is saying this. So he's actually putting it as if like a conversation is happening here. So Krishna may say to Arjun, but you will gain fame, kingdom, and wealth. These are the visible results of fighting. And then Arjun is replying, I do not desire these things. Because of giving up desire for kingdom and wealth, I have no interest in gaining victory to attain it. Just as a person who has lost interest in food has no interest in cooking. Therefore, living in the forest would be a more commendable means of maintaining my life. So you see, when you look at this purpose, very interesting. Prabhupada, the purpose that Prabhupada has given for all the tests, he actually was consulting so many different commentaries. And you can see these signs. He picked up this analogy about the person who's not hungry and the food. He picked it up from here, from Baldev Vidyabhushan commentary. victory, and then also the other verse from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Prabhupada was doing his translation in a proper parampara fashion. You know, he wasn't just concocting his own things. Of course, he added some things which came from him just to make it more sort of current. So he gave examples of current life, and that way we could more relate to it. But he stuck to the principles of the parampara by taking into account all the commentaries from these wonderful acharyas. So, right. Okay, I think that's, yeah. So in the verse, Arjuna says, "Na kangshe vijayam Krishna." Yeah, because he's saying, I'm not desiring this. I do not desire victory. Na kangshe means I don't desire vijayam, victory for Krishna. So material gain. So he was thinking about victory in terms of getting material gain. But the real gain, of course, is to satisfy Krishna. And therefore, so here Prabhupada finishes this, that therefore he considers himself fit to go to the forest and live in a secluded place. A life of frustration, actually. Funny thing is, Prabhupada says frustration. So like we said earlier, because his nature is Kshatriya, he would be frustrated in the forest. He will not be able to be at peace with himself. So coming back to real victory is to satisfy Krishna, and examples of devotees who actually lost materially, whether they lost their lives or whether they lost their properties or whatever they lost in the process of pleasing Krishna. Can anybody think of examples from Shastra, from Bhagavatam, of examples of devotees who actually pleased Krishna by losing materially?
Bali Maharaj.
Very
Bali Maharaj.
Very good. So Bali Maharaj is definitely, that's the first one that comes to mind. Anybody else?
Dhruv Maharaj?
Dhruv Maharaj, actually, Dhruv Maharaj went and he wanted the kingdom, didn't he? Yes, okay,
Yes.
yes, we can say yes. In the end, he did say that, okay, I don't want it because I've seen you now. I was looking for broken pieces of glass, back of a diamond. Yes, so I think, yes, that's a good point. I didn't pick that one up, but yes, he also, as soon as he got the darshan, he then gave up all his desires. He didn't materially lose it, actually. He just stopped desiring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Parikshit Maharaj?
Parikshit Maharaj, yes, Parikshit Maharaj, that's a good example. Yes, because he, gave up everything and just went to listen to Krishna Katha for the last 70s. That's a good example. I didn't pick that one up either. I mean, there must be many, 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 but let's see what, anybody?
Bharat Maharaj, yeah.
Bharat Maharaj also, yes, he gave up his kingdom, went to do his final sadhana. Absolutely, yes. So like that, we have many, many examples. But a big example here in this picture. Anybody recognize who that is?
Vritrasura.
Who became Vritrasura? Yes, Vritrasura. There, he's there. He's saying to Indra, please kill me. He wanted to give up his life, and he gave up his life because it was the wish of Vishnu. Vishnu had instructed Indra to go and have a vajra made from the bones of Dadichi Muni. So he knew this is the wish of Krishna. Krishna wants me to die with this weapon, so I'm happy to die for Krishna. So that's him. He gave up his life for that. And Dadichi Muni, of course, himself gave up his life just to please the devotees. And this one?
Jayatu.
Jatayu. Jatayu in the Ramakatha, Rama Leela, you can see Jatayu gave up his life trying to save Mother Sita. So these are the examples. And of course, there'll be many, many more. Let's see what I have next. So persons who are devoid of like self-realization. So see, again, Arjuna is pretending at them, or Krishna is covering him up. But persons like that. So our example is very much what people like us who are devoid of self-realization remain attached to the temporary rather than thinking of the permanent. And Shukadeva Goswami speaks to King Parikshit in second canto, first chapter, text 4, where he's giving the situation of all of us. This is how we all are. Listen to this verse. Dehapatya kalat kalatradish vatma sanyes vasatvapi tesham pramatani danam pashyan apina pashyati. So persons devoid of Atma Tattva, of course is self-realization, do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. So do not ask questions about problems of life, meaning that they are just so engrossed materially that they don't ask about the real hetu, what is the purpose of human life. So again, purport, a little bit of a purport, it's just a part of it. It says, this material world is called the world of death. It's called Mrityu. Mrityu Lok, isn't it? We say, yeah? Every living entity, every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs who live just for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living entity, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of his great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. So you see, Pashyan apina pashyati, meaning these persons are intelligent enough to know, they can see that my father or my grandfather was here, but he's not there anymore. His father was there, he's not there anymore. So similarly, there'll be a time when I will not be here anymore. There'll also be a time when my children also will not be here anymore. So then what is the point? We need to, instead of going through the cycle of birth and death, we need to find a way out. And this is Atma Tattva. This is what it is. So no one will survive the struggle of material nature. So that is what I had so far on this verse. Before we close, I'll just remind everybody about the Bhagavad campaign. Put your names down on the list to commit to at least distributing one set of the Bhagavatam between now and the middle of September. You all know the drill, so I'll just leave it as a reminder. And now I will invite any questions, comments, anything else. There's something on chat, and this comes from Andre. Andre Prabhu is saying, Andre Prabhu, I presume, is saying, we too may go through similar bewilderment like Arjun when we go through our different phases, student life, family life. How can we stay enthusiastic? Very good question, actually. Yes. So this is the point, actually. We will never be at a point where we have to make a decision about fighting a war. Most of us will not be in that position anyway. So the point here, the lessons that we are learning, Andre Prabhu, thank you for raising this, by the way. The lessons that we are learning from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, from incidents like this, is that yes, we will face not as drastic, but similar situations in life. Life will bring up all these problems for all of us at one point or the other. And then how do we deal with it? How do we remain enthusiastic? Is by remembering this. If we have studied the Bhagavad Gita, if we have understood the Bhagavad Gita as it is supposed to be understood, and if we now then remember how Arjun was so confused and so distressed that his Gandhi bow actually fell down and he sat down. He was sweating, his hair was standing on end. He wasn't thinking straight. So even from that situation, by following Krishna's instructions step by step by step, and then arriving to the final conclusion that actually everything else doesn't matter. I need to just surrender to Krishna. And surrendering to Krishna, meaning I need to do what Krishna wants me to do. How do I understand what Krishna wants me to do? Because unlike Arjun, Krishna is not here to tell me. So I need to then understand that I need to take lessons from his teaching in the books and from the acharyas who are following his line. And then that way we can understand how we can deal with this. So a situation like this comes, we can say, okay, nothing like life and death, but we can always try and put Krishna in the center and say, right, okay, whatever's going on now is temporary and it's to do with my body. So I need to just pass this time. I need to remain focused, do the best I can. Of course, I don't want to be negligent, do the best I can to resolve the situation to my best ability, and then focus on my devotion. And by focusing on my devotion, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna will give me the intelligence, not just to come out of this particular situation, but also he'll give me the intelligence how to come closer to him. Tadami buddhi yogam tam, Krishna says. So that is how I would answer that. Andre Prabhu, I hope that made sense. Anybody else? Any comments? Snehal Prabhu is asking, Hare Krishna, can you explain why do Kshatriyas and persons in the renounced order of life go to the sun globe? So yeah, Snehal Prabhu, good question. So as we were reading from the commentaries by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the sun globe is, of course, it is the master of all planets, and it is a destination which is very, very sought after by the yogis. We, from our mundane point of view, we will think that the sun globe is a very inhabitable place. It is very inhospitable place, inhospitable in the sense that it's heat, so much heat that we cannot even tolerate it, and the light will dazzle us. So from our point of view, Snehal Prabhu, we would think we don't want to go there. But actually, the yogis, like, okay, in this case, we're talking about the sannyasis and the soldiers who die on the battlefield, especially in front of Krishna. They go there and they actually have an amazing life in a body which is made mostly of fire. And of course, in all those planets, there is life. If we think that just because it's so hot in the sun, there cannot be any life, then we're thinking from a mundane point of view. From our intelligence, yes, we can say there's no life there. But Krishna says, Prabhupada mentions many, many times, they are living entities in every planet. For us, what is inhospitable is very hospitable to living entities whose bodies are made to suit that climate, that particular environment. Just like you and I cannot dive into a river and remain underwater for hours and hours. We will not survive there. But we know there are living entities like the fish who are completely at home there. If you put the fish out on land, it will struggle. So similarly, there are living entities who live in the sun globe, and the sun globe is a very, very opulent heavenly planet. I hope that answers the question, Nehal Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Namrata Mataji.
Prabhuji, I'm sorry for asking this question, but it's been bugging me for a couple of days, so I'm going to ask this question. So the way first of all, thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. The way I understand this, and you can correct me if I've got it right or wrong, is that Krishna was obviously, Arjuna was following Krishna's instructions. If he did the battle, that means he's saying that I want the materialistic life because I'm going to go for the battle and I'm going to win the kingdom. But actually, Krishna is trying to set an example by saying, this is my wish and I am the Godhead, and hence you need to do the battle because it is the right thing to do. So is it not, I'm a bit confused because God itself is saying to us that do the right thing, do the right karma, and I am with you because that is the right karma to fight the battle because that's what Godhead wants us to do. and hence win the kingdom. But winning the kingdom is in itself being materialistic, is it not?
Exactly. So yes, thank you for raising such an important point, Navata Mataji. Yes. So the whole purpose, see, right now, in these verses, in the early verses, Krishna is talking to Arjuna and saying to him that you got nothing to lose, because if you win, you'll get the kingdom, right? But you see, he's talking to him because he knows that right now Arjuna is in the bodily platform, right? So that is what will appeal to him. So my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktichar Guru Maharaj would say that when you are speaking to somebody in kindergarten, you can't give him like university level education. So you have to talk to him at that level. So Krishna, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he is increasing the volume. He's increasing the level and taking Arjuna slowly, all the way to the top of proper Bhakti Yoga. But while somebody is in such a bodily platform, you can't give him high philosophy. So Krishna is trying to appeal to him what he thinks might appeal to him in his state at the moment. So he's saying like that. But yes, ultimately, the reason for the whole battle was because Krishna desired it, because there was too much weight on the earth of unsaintly people, especially unsaintly rulers who had given up dharma, and they were ruling the citizens with adharma. So this was Krishna's plan to, in one foul swoop, get rid of all this papa from this earth. And as we know, he says to Arjuna at one point, just be an instrument. Nimitta matra savya sachin. Just be an instrument. So Arjuna, first of all, is a Kshatriya, so this is your duty, Arjuna. You can't run away from your duty. That's number one. Your duty as a Kshatriya is to fight for righteousness against adharma. Secondly, it is my wish. All these people are dead already. I'm telling you, nobody's going home. They are all dead. But you can just be an instrument. So the whole purpose, the main reason for the war is Krishna's wish. And once Arjuna understood Krishna's wish, Arjuna says, Karise vachanam tava. I will do as you wish.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna, Jolly Mataji.
isn't it because Krishna was a friend to Arjuna? That was one of the influence to stay as his friend and not change. And I mean, although it was a very prominent message about him not wanting to hurt his family, and he talked about the attachment, material attachment. He actually, the crunch was when he decided to drop the friendship and take Krishna as his guru. Isn't that right? That really made a drastic change in his attitude and his thinking. So he had Krishna as his guru then instead of a friend. So he actually showed a great respect towards him. And actually by the end of the discourse was a long discourse, wasn't it? So he actually understood that this material body doesn't mean anything. You and your family doesn't mean anything. They're still going to survive, even if they have done wrong. After they've been killed and everybody's dead anyway beforehand, they're going to be having liberation. And my question is, why did the body get?
Yes.
So
Jolly,
how come they got liberation as well as?
oh, okay. How did everybody? So why did everybody get liberation who was the battlefield, right? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 5, Anta kale chamameva smaran vukpa kalevaram yat prayati samadbhavam yati nashyata samshaya. He says that anyone who at the end of life thinks of me will be liberated, will come to me, right? So if somebody is just thinking about Krishna, he will be liberated. So what to speak of somebody who's dying in front of Krishna? So all these souls just died in the presence of Krishna. So of course they would be liberated.
Yes, even the demons, they were liberated because anybody who come in contact with Krishna, it seems like they do get liberated.
Absolutely. Yeah. So certainly anybody who passes away in presence of Krishna, they will get liberated. And secondly, the other part, the bigger picture we must understand is all these demons are there. They are very, very exalted personalities, and they are here to facilitate Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you so much. I've got a question
Hare
here.
Krishna, Mukunda-Hari Prabhu. I just,
Hare Krishna.
yeah, thank you very much. Very wonderful class. I just thought because, at the beginning in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that because the parampara system had broken and Krishna wanted to re-establish the parampara system, that's why he was speaking to the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, because he made Arjuna as the beginning of the parampara, because to be a parampara, you have to be devotee of Krishna, you have to be a friend to Krishna, so you have to be very close to Krishna for him to speak Bhagavad Gita again, because the parampara was broken. So that is the whole purpose of this whole battle and this speaking of Bhagavad Gita. This is my understanding from the introduction.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's another angle. Thank you for reminding us, Palika Mataji. Thank you very much. I'm trying to read a message here from KKHH. I always forget his name. Your name again, please, Prabhu. Okay, he says, by doing it for Krishna, he does not attract karma, right? Correct. And it is mentioned to Arjuna, will have to act. You have to act. So come, not read a little bit. One way or the other, if Arjuna acted of his own accord, then he would have attracted karma. And Bhakti Yoga is to do all in loving devotion to Krishna. Is that correct? Understand? Yes. Okay, sorry, I think you were writing quite fast, you're typing fast, so some things are not quite readable. But yes, I understand your point. Yes, Arjuna, in the end, in the beginning, like I was saying in this class, he was taking instructions from his mind. So which was, he wanted to do what he wanted to do, go to the forest. As soon as he then gave up that idea and decided to do what Krishna wants to do, then there was no karma, because otherwise there would be karma. Absolutely. When you do what Krishna wants to do, there is no karma. It's akarma. Right? Because as we know the three concepts, karma, vikarma, and akarma. So karma and vikarma are both not favorable, but akarma is favorable, because that way we don't incur any karma, and also we please Krishna. That's the main thing. Thank you so much. All right, devotees, it's 10 to 9. Thank you so much for your wonderful participation. Really, really enjoyed it. This class becomes nice just by your participation. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you very much.